Program loops are one of the most useful things in the basic programming language. The reason for this is it allows us to do multiple tasks or repeat multiple commands within a loop without having to type them out many times. A simple example of this would be the for loop. So if we type in for, as we've seen in previous tutorials, x equals 0 to 9, and we then type in print x and end the loop with next x, the program will now count from 0 to 9 and then print it on screen. So whereas originally if we didn't use this loop we would have to type in print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, print 5, print 6, etc. We've now reduced 10 lines of code down to 3. And remember, again, 0 is counted as a number, so you will get 10 numbers on the screen. So I'll progress and type in wait key and end, and then run the program. And as you can see, the program has now counted 10 times. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers on the screen. So again, if you ever want to repeat a set of commands a certain number of times, then this is the one to use. Or if you have a situation where you need to count upwards. You can take the for command even further by using an extension called step. Step will allow you to literally step a certain number of times. So if you imagine taking a staircase, you've got 30 steps going all the way up, but if you take 2 steps at a time, you only actually make 15 steps on the way up. So we type in 2 here, and this should then skip 1. This will then skip every other number that it counts. So if we run this program again, as you can see, it started at 0, then 2, 4, 6 and 8. So we'll close the program now. Step can be increased to any number you like. So if I increase 0 to 1000 and increase the step by 100 and run the program again, as you can see, it now counts 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, etc. all the way to 1000. So if you wish to count upwards in this style, this is how you do it. And of course the step command can also be reversed. So if we go -1 and reduce this down to 0 and then start it at 9, the program should count from 0 to 9 backwards. So we'll run the program. And as you can see, it started at 9, 10, 7, etc. It's counted backwards all the way down from 9 to 0. And again, if you wish to count even further, you can count from 100, from 1000, and you can do exactly as we did before. We can count from 1000 all the way down to 0. So it's a very useful command for this kind of situation. And if you wish, you can also go into negative numbers. So we'll reduce this back down to 0, and we'll go to -1000. Because x here is declared as a single variable, it's defined as an integer. So we got the negative number range as well. So I'll click on run. As you can see, it will happily count into negative numbers. Of course, if you want to count into positive into negative, you can do that as well. If you wish to count in decimal points, then you can set it up with 0.1. And remember, to do this you will need to convert x into a float. So we'll now call it x float. And we'll change the numbers from 0 to 1. Run the program. So now we've got it counting in decimals. The next loop is the do and loop. This is an infinite loop that never ends. You don't pass it any conditions or anything. You simply type in do and loop, and we'll do a quick demonstration. Print x and inc x. So this will basically count infinitely until we stop the program. So we'll run it. And as you can see, the program will literally continue counting up until it hits the end of an integer, at which point it will either restart or cause some kind of error. So as I say, there's no way of exiting the do loop unless you use the exit command. So if in key equals s, then exit, and print the loop was exited, and wait key and end. So we'll run the loop there, and when we press the S key it should then end the loop. There we go. So the only way to break a do and loop is to type in the command exit. So exit doesn't end the entire program, end does that. Exit is merely designed to exit any loop you're in. There is another way of mimicking a do loop that the exit command won't have any effect on, and that's to type in a label, for instance start, colon, and then go to start, and if we run this program now and press S, the program won't stop. As you can see, the program will continue going. So that's another way of mimicking the do and loop, but the drawback is that you can't write a get out. You can only press escape in order to close the program entirely. The next loop we're going to have a look at now is the until loop. So we actually start this off with repeat, and we end with the until command. So until x equals 1000. So what we will do now is use the inc command to increase x by 1. So inc stands for increase. We haven't actually defined x as 0, so the program immediately assumes that x will start as 0 and that it's an integer. We will then print x. We'll slow the program down a bit with the wait command. So wait 10. And as soon as x hits 1000, the loop will exit and we'll get the loop was exited message. There we go, it's counting up nicely. As you see, as soon as it hit 1000, the loop was exited, and that was the end of the program. So it's very good to infinitely keep a program going until a certain condition is met. So if you write an if statement, as working out maths or working out a trigger statement such as pressing a key, then the loop will continue going until a certain variable equals the number in question. It can be managed to any piece of data in the program. For instance, if I type in input, quote, the program will end when you type in break, colon space, quote, comma, then break string. Now if we replace x with break string and make it equal to break, then when we type break into the program, it will exit the loop. If we type anything else in, then it will just continue indefinitely until break equals the break there. So we run the program. Now if we type in some random words, pink, cat, orange, nothing happens. But if we type in break, the loop was exited and the program can end. The last loop we're going to look at is called the while. This is dependent on a variable being in existence and at a certain state. So if we type in while space key equals 0, end while. I'll put some commands in here, inc x, print x, just to show it's continuing to loop. Then wait key and end. I need a quick, it's exited. So basically, the space key basically detects whether or not the space key has been pressed. So while space key equals 0, the loop will continue. As soon as we press the space key, the loop will break and the program will exit. This is just another way of using loops. So we'll run the program here. As you can see, the program's quite happily counting along. I'll press the spacebar, and that's it, the loop has ended. So this is basically the exact opposite of until. It's saying while this condition is in existence, the loop will continue, whereas the until loop says this loop will continue until this condition is met. And those are the basic 4 primary loop built into basic programming.